Welcome to Peachtree Injury Talk with attorney Jordan Jewkes.
Hey everybody, welcome back to an all-new episode of Peachtree Injury Talk with Jordan Jewkes. I'm your host, Mike Leon. Jordan strives to give injured victims a voice, and he's providing strong advocacy against an often broken system, let's be honest. With nearly 2 decades of legal experience, including work as a former injury defense attorney, Jordan understands exactly how insurance companies try to twist the facts to avoid paying their compensation. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about something many injury victims worry about, Jordan, and that's pre-existing conditions. So let me ask you right off at the top here, what is a pre-existing condition in the context of a personal injury case?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Mike. And as always, it is great to be here. And I love talking about these issues and sort of informing the public about it. But, to your question, what is a pre-existing as it relates to this, or a pre-existing condition as it relates to these car wrecks and injuries? It's when you have a body part that's injured in a wreck, or you're having pain symptoms from a wreck, but that body part, whether it's a neck, back, or head, shoulder, had prior pain and doctor treatment for it. So I get in a wreck this week, but a couple weeks ago, I had seen a chiropractor for the same neck injury that I'm now feeling in my neck, that same pain. That neck, when I went to see a chiropractor several weeks ago, that would be considered a pre-existing condition to my current neck pain.
So can you still file a claim if you were already dealing with a medical issue before the accident?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is absolutely, and you should. And the insurance company should pay for that claim. And there's just a very simple principle. It's a aggravation of a pre-existing condition that virtually every state recognizes and applies. The trick, though, is the insurance companies don't like paying for those. And their most common defense that we see in our industry is, well, the neck pain you're having, Mike, is a pre-existing condition. So the insurance company automatically tries to classify a pre-existing condition as unrelated and something they don't want to pay for the wreck. But the reality is, you can have a pre-existing condition that's made worse because of even a low impact wreck. In fact, a pre-existing condition should be something that makes you more susceptible to wreck and therefore makes your case even sometimes more valuable.
Jordan, I kind of want to expand on something that you just mentioned there about the insurance companies. So go further into detail here about how do the insurance companies use these pre-existing conditions to reduce or even sometimes deny claims?
Yeah, so what the insurance companies love to do is mine your medical history or your medical records, as well as your claims history for anything that they may perceive as a pre-existing condition, or what they will call a defense to paying your claim or a way to minimize your claim. And the insurance industry is interesting. They have most insurance companies have direct access to a claims database. And so if you've been in a car wreck in the past and reported any type of injury, that database is going to have that injury listed in it. So, Mike, if you were in a car wreck and you were rear-ended 5 years ago and complained of a neck injury, whatever insurance company you're fighting now will have access to, they will have data that shows you were in a car wreck 5 years ago and you complained of a neck injury. And so they will say to me, well, Mr. Jewkes, you're making a claim for, Mike's neck injury for this wreck that happened a few weeks ago. But we show that he had a car wreck 5 years ago and made a claim through his insurance for a neck injury. And they'll try to say, because of that, he didn't injure his neck in this claim. He's only trying to get paid for the car wreck that happened 5 years ago. That's almost exactly what they'll say. And sometimes to add to that, they'll say, well, we're not going to pay for Mike's neck injury unless you give us his 5 prior years of medical records, from his primary care or chiropractor showing, that he did or did not have a pre-existing neck condition. So they love to play games, and especially love to play the blame game. And they love to say, well, Mike, this is all your fault for claiming a neck injury because you had a previous or pre-existing neck injury.
I mean, you said neck injury so many times. My neck is actually starting to bother me right
All right,
now,
man.
Jordan, which is pretty funny. But I want to move on because there's something that's right up in your wheelhouse as being an attorney out there in Georgia, and that's this eggshell plaintiff rule. Can you kind
Yeah.
of explain a little bit and how it applies in the state of Georgia?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. And the eggshell plaintiff rule is the simple principle. I mean, that's a doctrine we have here in Georgia, and many states um, employ a similar doctrine, which is the defendant is responsible for the condition of the plaintiff, right, or the condition of the car wreck victim, regardless of whatever condition that car wreck victim is in. Meaning, if the 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 plaintiff or the car wreck victim is in great health and gets injured, then you're responsible. The defendant driver is responsible for the any damage to that driver's great health. But on the other side, on the other end of that, if you come into and if you've had neck surgery and you've had some hardware, some real surgery on your neck, that probably means you're more susceptible to any type of trauma on your neck. And if you've had neck surgery a year or two before the wreck, and then you get in a wreck, and even though it's maybe a seemingly small wreck, but your neck hurts again, and you feel like you may need surgery again, you take that plaintiff in whatever state they are, even if they are an eggshell plaintiff, kind of like Humpty Dumpty. Someone else may not have cracked when they fell off the wall, but because Humpty Dumpty was fragile and he cracked, you're responsible for those cracks.
So how would you advise somebody to prove that an accident aggravated this pre-existing condition?
I think you're honest about it and you own up to it, and then sometimes you just show what your medical treatment is. And let's use the previous example that if someone had a neck surgery 3 years ago or 4 years ago, there's certainly going to be, after that surgery, some follow-up appointments with the orthopedic surgeon or the neurosurgeon. There's going to be probably some physical therapy or other recovery type treatments. But then there should be some type of asymptomatic period, right, where you told the doctor in the medical records, you know what, this surgery actually helped. I'm 80% better, right? And the physical therapy that I had and the pain medication all made it 99% better. So you're going to look for indications in the medical record that support that you made a good recovery from that. But everyone who knows, if you've had a neck surgery, you're going to be fragile, and the doctor's going to tell you, hey, avoid strenuous activities like kite surfing or NASCAR driving or roller coasters, because that may disrupt that healing or the structure of the hardware within that surgery. And so it's really just recreating and being honest about what happens. And I want to point out, you're not going to claim that the neck surgery from 3 years ago was related to this car wreck. You're just going to simply call it what it is and said this recent car wreck made my previous condition worse.
So then should clients always disclose their medical history to their attorney?
Oh yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, we have a client should always disclose their prior conditions to their attorney. We ask every single client, be honest, list them out. So if we know what your pre-existing conditions are, we can go ahead and order their medical records, and we can start to dissect and analyze that so that we can put your best foot forward. If you fail to disclose pre-existing conditions, all it does is tie our own hands behind our back as we try and fight the insurance company. It's really hard to beat the insurance company with two fists. It's even harder to just beat them with one fist. And so the more upfront and honest our clients are, the better for us in the long run to maximize the value of their case.
Is that, piggybacking on that, is that like a common mistake that people, they just forget that they have pre-existing conditions? Or is there something else, like maybe they don't have their medical history, they've changed doctors, they've moved states? Like, what are some common mistakes that people make with disclosing these pre-existing conditions?
Yeah, and certainly we've seen clients who genuinely forgot it, especially those that maybe had a pre-existing injury from many, many years before. I mean, that's actually really common, that someone just forgets that they were in a car wreck and 10 years prior, and that they saw a chiropractor 3 times or maybe had a minor procedure. That's actually really common, and in my opinion, pretty understandable. We all live our lives on a daily basis, and frankly, most of us try and put traumatic events out of our mind and forget about them. And I suppose occasionally there are people out there that try and, hide those, or to say, maybe the insurance company won't find out, or maybe my attorney won't find out. I'm not interested in representing those types of people, because it just makes it look bad. And the insurance companies, because of the resources they have, almost always find out about any pre-existing conditions, even those that you may have forgotten of, or maybe didn't even realize were related.
Let me ask you, can a past injury actually strengthen a case if the accident clearly made that injury worse?
Yeah, absolutely. A past injury does not always minimize the value of the case. Sometimes it makes it a lot better. In fact, I've represented many clients who have had some type of procedure done on a body part before, and it's usually the neck or the low back, and they were in a good recovery period, and actually they would say and testify and have testified that their back was better and that they had overcome it, and then they got in a car wreck, and then they kind of felt back to where they were. And in my mind, and I think in most people who are reasonable, would say, well, gosh, if you went through a bad spot in your life and were back to a good spot, and that you were more susceptible to being, put to an injury, or that making your injury aggravated because of a fairly simple traumatic experience like a car wreck. And so I think anyone who's overcome a significant injury to be back, to a good place where they're healthy and able to do their activities of daily living, and they get in a car wreck and are reverted back to that bad point they were in their life, I think that's a great case, and I would gladly take that case all day long.
Jordan, let me ask you, what advice would you give to clients right now who maybe they listen to this and they're like, I'm a little worried, my medical history, it may ruin my chances at getting a fair recovery here. What's a piece of advice that you would give to them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Mike. If you're worried about, pre-existing conditions negatively affecting your case, there's only one way to find out. Go talk to an attorney. We can help you analyze, give you some options about your case, and give you the best arguments to moving forward. And not every case is viable. Not every case is going to end up being a home run. But if you've been injured and you had a pre-existing condition, your rights are just as important as the next person who didn't have a pre-existing condition, and you deserve to be fairly compensated for that.
Well, Jordan, thanks as always for the insights and analysis here. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, as always, Mike, thanks again for having me.
And thank you for everybody out there listening to Peachtree Injury Talk. If you've been injured and have a pre-existing condition, don't let the insurance company bully you into silence. Visit jewkesfirm.com, JEWKES firm.com. You're going to get real advice from a team that knows how to fight back and they know how to win. Do me a favor, don't forget to like, leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss the next episode. As always, I'm Mike Leon.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.